Good morning, British literature students, and welcome to week 5. Let's take a look at what's going on this week. We've got a couple of things that are important. First of all, you only have 2 authors to read this week, which I think will make you pretty happy. And we'll talk about those 2 authors in a second. But you do have the exam this week, plus, of course, you have the 2 postings that are due. Before I talk about the exam and the 2 authors, let me make a note about the postings. Many of you are still getting that works cited entry wrong. The good news is you're trying to give me a works cited entry, and I appreciate that. And that's great. The bad news is last week I commented on how many of those were wrong and how you need to have the author's name instead of the editor's names. And this week when I was grading discussion postings, guess what I saw? The very same thing. Please get those right, because when you do your research paper later this semester, you're going to want those formatted correctly. In fact, it's very important that you get those formatted correctly. So, because I will count off points if you don't. So, again, better to make your mistakes in the postings than on the big paper. But that's a mistake that you should have cleared up by now. So, please fix that. All right, now, let's talk about the exam. It's 50 questions. It'll be 30 general knowledge questions and 20 direct quotes. It will be open book. You may use your book, or you may use your notes, or you may use whatever you need to in order to do well on these exams. I will say that my American literature students took their exam last week, and it's the very same format. Everything will be multiple choice. So every single question will be multiple choice. I think I've got like 3 true-false questions in there, but everything else is multiple choice. So, and true-false, you've got, you should be able to get those also. So, your answer will be right there in front of you. You just have to know what's in each author's work, or whatever you need to do there. I have sent to you through the D2L email a study guide for this exam. So check your D2L email, and you will see in there an email with the study guide on it attached to it. That can help you prepare as well. Another thing I can do is tell you to read the instructions on the study guide. It gives you more hints on how to prepare, such as going through my PowerPoint presentations. There are plenty of resources to help you do well on this exam. And again, my American Lit students got a similar exam, and they all knocked it out of the park. So I have no reason to believe that you guys will also knock it out of the park, especially since I've got honor students in this class. So that's due by next Sunday, the 8th, at 11:59 p.m. So give yourself about 2 hours, and of course it says this on the study guide. You probably won't need the full 2 hours. You will likely get it done in less than 1 hour, to be honest with you. But again, give yourself the full 2 hours uninterrupted. Put the pets outside and send the spouse and the kids off to a movie or something like that, and take the time to take the exam. Our two authors. These are the late Romantic poets, Lord Byron and Percy Bysshe Shelley. These two, although they are Romantic poets, are reacting against the earlier Romantics like Wordsworth and Coleridge. In fact, one of your readings, To Wordsworth by Percy Bysshe Shelley, is actually a note from Percy Bysshe Shelley to Wordsworth saying, dude, you used to be so cool, and now look at what's happened to you. You've turned into a conservative, stodgy old man like the poets you were rebelling against in the first place. Remember about this time that Wordsworth either is or he's getting close to being the poet laureate, which is the head poet of England. So it's important that he wrote about that. And then also with Percy Bysshe Shelley, we got Mount Blanc, which is based on a mountain in France, that treats nature not as a mother that gives everything that is necessary to sustain life, but rather it treats nature as a powerful force that is indifferent to human beings. And the raw power of the rock being thrust up and the snows on top of the mountain paint a completely different picture than what Wordsworth painted with his pastoral, green grass and children and lambs playing kind of poetry. Lord Byron, She Walks in Beauty. This was inspired by a real woman, and she was so beautiful that Byron wrote this poem about her. And he basically puts her up on a pedestal and elevates her and talks about how she's not only beautiful in body and in face, but she's also a beautiful person on the inside. You've probably seen this before, but Lord Byron did it very well, so I included it. And then the second canto of Don Juan. Notice I pronounced it Juin instead of Juan. That's just the way that it's supposed to be pronounced. So for this poem, it is a little bit lengthy, but notice that notice two things. One, I only asked you to read the second canto, so you can skip the first canto. In fact, I'll go ahead and tell you what happens in the first canto. We meet Don Juan. We find out that he's from Seville, Spain. We find out that his parents were they were middle class. They weren't very rich, but they were well off enough. And Don Juan is a devastatingly handsome man. In fact, he's got the blonde hair, the blue eyes. He's just women just swoon anytime he comes into the room. And he ends up meeting a young lady by the name of Julia, who is a little bit older than him. Don Juan is about 17, and Julia is 23. And so they start having an affair, which would be okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a younger man dating an older woman, except this older woman is married. And the husband finds out, and Don Juan's mother is horrified because now the family name is going to be besmirched. So she actually puts him on a ship to send him out of Seville and hopefully save his reputation and his family's reputation. And Julia, her husband, because now she's damaged goods, because since she's cheated on him, he can no longer have the good wife anymore. He puts her in a nunnery. And so that's where we pick it up at the beginning of the second canto. Julia is now in a nunnery. She has given Don Juan a little love letter that he carries around with him. And Juan is now on a ship and is about to depart from Seville and go on grand adventures. And we will see how that goes in Canto 2. Also notice that your textbook left some of these stanzas out. This poem does get a little repetitive. The actual poem is 16 cantos, and it still wasn't completed when Lord Byron died. Both these men, just like John Keats, died very young. Lord Byron of a sickness while he was in Italy to participate in a war, and Percy Bysshe Shelley died in a boating accident. And so, again, just like Keats, they lived hard, but they died young. And that was just the way they lived. So, Canto 2, again, is about 222 or 224 stanzas. But notice your textbook cut about half of those out to make it easier for you to read. It took out all the repetitiveness and all of the philosophy and whatnot, and it left most of the story and some of the philosophy in there. So, bear in mind, Canto 2 also gets a little bit risque. If that's going to offend you, you're being warned in this video now. It is a bit risque, especially when he meets Haiti, a lovely young lady who also falls in love with him, because Don Juan has that power to make women fall in love with him effortlessly. If it will offend your sensibilities, then first of all, I just want to say we're all adults here, so it's not pornographic by any stretch of the imagination. There's just a suggestion of eroticism in it, but it's not very explicit. And if it's going to offend your sensibilities, then go ahead and let me know, and I'll give you some alternate readings to do here. But most of you, I think, are adult enough that you can enjoy this canto. So that's all I have on Don Juan, or actually on Lord Byron and Percy Bysshe Shelley. So again, keep up with those postings. If you've not been doing the postings, you'll notice that your average is very low because you've got zeros across the board. And let's get that exam done so that we can move on. And you'll see that even if you're struggling with the postings, if you do as well on the exam as my other class did, you should see your grade go way up. So that's all I have. And I wish you a great week. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to contact me either by telephone or by email, and or drop by my office if you happen to be on campus. And we will talk again later.